beautiful late spring evening for baseball in the Bronx, and for a Yankee team with the best home record in the American League, the high-scoring trappings of Yankee Stadium. Fox Saturday Baseball presents the Baltimore Orioles and the first place New York Yankees. Welcome inside the broadcast booth alongside Hall of Famer John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian, Ken Rosenthal with us as well. The New York Yankees start play with a season-high 3-game lead atop the AL East, John. They've scored 8 or more runs in 3 straight games, and as good as this lineup is everywhere, they are particularly good here at home.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't know anybody that thought this was coming. Last year, you got a sneak preview of Sanchez and Judge. They made some trades. Their future was unclear. The future's here, and they are really good. These 2 young players and their offense and their ability to hit for power. This is a team that's to be reckoned with the rest of the year, and it's only going to get better. So for those who thought it was a rebuilding situation, the Yankees are definitely got their eyes on the prize, and why not? Offensively, here at home, dominating.
For the Orioles in the middle of the pack in the division, they got off to a great start in April. Disappointing results in May and June. We know this, when they're middle of the lineup, their 3, 4, 5 hitters are right. They're as good as anybody's. That just hasn't been the case for a while.
No, it hasn't. And for Baltimore, the path's not as clear. They need more things to go right. Their starters don't deliver a lot of innings. They don't depend on their starters as much. It's the bullpen and the middle of that lineup. It has got a lot of power, but it also has a lot of strikeouts. If you're on your game as a pitcher, maybe you navigate and get a high strikeout total. If you're not, these guys normally do damage, but they haven't. And Baltimore, it's a tribute to their manager why they're even in this position thus far.
We should know with Manny Machado, the wrist injury, not in the starting lineup for Buck Showalter tonight. They're hoping to avoid the DL with him, however, and have him back within the next couple of days. We do know this again. The Orioles have the best record in the division, and they've taken the season series with the Yankees for 3 straight years, but these are different times. This is a different Yankee team. Long-standing division rivals collide in the Bronx tonight. Starting lineups in the opening pitch from New York. Next. The Yankee lineup's been at home, and in this homestand in particular, it's been a different hero every night. Chris Carter Wednesday with a 3-run home run, 2 home runs for Gary Sanchez on Thursday, and then yesterday Aaron Hicks hit a pair. Last 3 games, They've scored 25 runs, and in fact, it's the first said streak of 3+ games with 8 or more runs scored in 3.5 years for a Yankee team that Joe Girardi is having a lot of fun with this season.
Yeah, much different team. When you think about the stars he's had, the stress, the pressure, all that goes away with an exciting team that the fan base, the network's picking up. Everything's at an all-time high because they have something to build on and know it can last for a while. Young star power, future Yankee generation, maybe talking about a guy like Aaron Judge. Could he be the next Yankee great?
You know, internally, the Yankees had referred to themselves the past couple of years as old, expensive, and famous. That isn't the case with this group. The fame quotient is on the rise with young stars like Aaron Judge, who we'll talk a lot about tonight, as the Yankees take the field on a simply beautiful night for baseball. 84 degrees. There is a breeze blowing out tonight that may or may not play a role. Chris Tillman of the Orioles has had a little bit of a hard time keeping the ball in the park of late. And Luis Severino on the mound for the Yankees. This is how Buck Showalter aligns his Orioles against him. Smith, Scope, and Jones lead it off. The 6-time All-Star Adam Jones with a 3-game hitting streak. Mark Trumbo, Chris Davis, and Trey Mancini, who's had a nice week in the middle of the lineup tonight. Wellington Castillo off the DL, making his first start since May 30th this evening, and catching J.J. Hardy. And Ruben Tejada, who was just traded to the Orioles from the Yankees this week, gets the start at third base. A little bit of a late arrival for Luis Severino, and why not? He can take his time. He's been that good this year. The 23-year-old right-hander in the midst of a breakthrough campaign. In 11 starts, a 4-2 record, and an ERA under 3.
Well, speaking about taking his time, he has definitely worked on slowing the process down, and he has been dominant. Now, what might surprise you is you're going to see 97 to 98 miles an hour, but he doesn't use that as a primary pitch. More than likely, you're going to see as many sliders as fastball, continuing the theme of baseball. Fastball usage trend going the other way.
Yeah, Severino is a prime example of that trend. Let's take a look at the defense behind him, and the infield in particular has been busier behind Severino this year than in each of his last 2 seasons. Some Gold Gloves on the left side of the field, including Brett Gardner's last year, and Chase Headley won one in San Diego back in 2012. Time for the 4 keys to the game, John.
Yeah, for Baltimore, pretty simple. Keep Mr. Judge in his chambers. Do not let him get the damage that he has been able to do against the rest of the league. And then home, very self-explanatory, dominating at home. And then homers, all first in the AL. They've clobbered, and why not? This stadium was built around the homer, and now they've got the personnel to deliver the homers.
But there haven't been many first-year players that get their own section in a ballpark 3 months into a season. But Aaron Judge mania has taken New York by storm. The leading vote getter in the American League for the All-Star game in Miami coming up in a few weeks, and we'll talk a lot about that tonight as well. So Seth Smith ready to start things for Baltimore tonight. Smith, Scope, and Jones. Orioles trying to even up this 3-game weekend series after dropping the opener yesterday. Severino ready to go to work tonight, and we are underway. Seth Smith among the Baltimore outfielders trying to find his way early in the season. Just 8 for his last 45 over a 15-game stretch. That's a batting average well under 200 during that period. And it's a ball and a strike to him to start the night.
Severino smooth in his delivery, slowing that process down. Heavy fastball, good slider, and occasional changeups.
The 1-1 home to Smith. It is a relevant note to repeat. We talked about it when we went on the air. No Manny Machado available to Buck Showalter tonight. Still nursing the left wrist injury that he suffered in a collision with the spikes of Andrew McCutchen on Wednesday. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Smith. So you take Machado out of the lineup, and that's quite a bit of sock and scare factor that's not available. Ruben Tejada gets the start at third base tonight. But again, the good news is the Orioles are hoping to have Machado back without a DL stint.
Yeah, that is good news, and there might be a silver lining in that. He was struggling a little bit. Maybe this gives him a chance to sit back, relax, and get back to those average numbers.
And a swing and a miss by Seth Smith.
It's one of the best fastballs in baseball as a starting pitcher goes. Remember, last year he was in the bullpen. He did not have much success as a starter coming into this campaign, and he looks like their best starter right now for the Yankees.
One of the bright spots in the Baltimore lineup right now is that of Jonathan Schoop, the second baseman who bats second tonight. They've bounced Schoop from the bottom third of the order up to the top of the card with some of his recent results. Homered yesterday. Take you back to last night's series opener. And Jonathan Schoop, who leads all major league second basemen in extra base hits this season, went deep for the 11th time last night.
Well, this is it's not a do or die series for the Orioles, but it's a big series. They're not firing on all their weapons. They can't afford to get swept, that's for sure. The Yankees took care of Boston 2 out of 3. Now they've got their next closest as well, the Orioles. I think the Orioles got to find a way to win a game or two and hopefully get back to getting a little healthy, because this has got the makings of the East having and fighting for 3 postseason spots, 2 wild cards, and of course the divisional winner.
That's what a lot of people are of the mind of thinking these days, and Ken Rosenthal, from whom we'll hear a little bit later, has written about that on FoxSports.com. Schoop fouls another pitch away, still 1-2. We also did some checking in terms of the schedule, because Buck Showalter doesn't offer any excuses. It's just a reality that the quote strength of schedule component for the Orioles has been the toughest in the American League so far, and the schedule itself hasn't provided much rest. Baltimore's got 1 day off between now and the All-Star game, and a couple of strikeouts have started the night for Luis Severino.
See, the reason this slider's so good, it comes right out of the fastball, slider and height, because when you have to respect 97 miles an hour, you're always trying to not get beat by the fastball. He has a good combination of those 2 pitches and a good feel. That's why you're going to see a lot of sliders in a game that Severino pitches.
So now Adam Jones, whose 3-game hitting streak represents one of the better runs that the Orioles bats have had this week. First offering from Luis Severino is in for a strike. Severino's been magnificent, and no decision on Sunday his last time around, and we should note that he's working with an extra day's rest today. That one's in play. Sanchez gets on it quickly, and it's a 1-2-3 start to the night for Luis Severino. Half inning gone. The Orioles go away in order. Aaron Judge and the Yankees taking their first sets of swings when we come back. To win their 4th in a row. Here's how they line up against Chris Tillman tonight. Brett Gardner's hit safely in 10 of 12 games, perhaps headed to the All-Star game for the 2nd time in his career. The resurgent switch hitter Aaron Hicks bats number 2. Major League Baseball's home run leader Aaron Judge in the 3 spot. Holiday, Castro, and Sanchez 4 through 6. Didi Gregorius bats number 7. The switch hitter Chase Headley 8. And Chris Carter gets the nod at first base, batting number 9. It is the 29-year-old veteran right-hander Chris Tillman on the mound to make start number 7 on his season tonight.
Yeah, coming back from shoulder injury, a little crossfire, abbreviated delivery, fastball, curveball, slider change. Right now the fastball's got to get a little bit better.
First pitch to Brett Gardner here in the bottom of the 1st is in for strike 1.
When he's going good, he's funky in his delivery. His changeup is hard for the hitters to pick up. When he's going not so good and the fastball command is a little bit erratic and he's over the fat part of the plate instead of up. He's going to have to pitch up against this Yankees to be successful.
A quick 0-2 start to Brett Gardner. Well, Chris Tillman last pitched on Sunday as well against the Red Sox, and he took a 7-3 loss that afternoon, gave up 5 runs, only 3 of them earned in his 6-inning stay. Making his 2nd start against the Yankees already this year tonight, 2nd of 7. Did not fare well against this team at home back on May 30th. Couldn't get through the 3rd inning. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to Brett Gardner.
The reason I think the Yankees, the lineup, what they possess, the power, they are really good at the elevation of the baseball, right? Getting it up in the air. You got to pitch above that. You got to get some of these big time hitters up in the zone with fastballs. That's the spot, and even a little bit higher you'll get some swing and misses. But if you're down in the zone without any kind of late life, they are going to be able to hit you to left and right center and with power. They're definitely looking in one area, and certainly Gardner's on a career high stretch of home runs. Both he and Holiday have a fun little wager going. The loser has to grow out their hair.
Yeah, be prepared to wait around a while for the result of that bet.
I can't. You could say that. I can't say that.
13 home runs for Brett Gardner, 12 home runs for Matt Holliday. Of course, Holliday's known as the power hitter of the two, but as John alluded to, the power season that Brett Gardner's in the midst of is so far en route to becoming a career best. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Chris Tillman, and a swing and a miss. A strikeout in the books for Tillman here in the 1st.
That's the pitch. He's going to have to be able to get ahead with strikes and then go up with 2 strikes. It's a great example of what the success that other pitchers have had against the Yankee hitters. Change speeds, change elevation, change the eyesight.
So 1 gone now for the switch hitter Aaron Hicks, who in the discussion of who has been the most valuable Yankee offensive player this year has to be top of mind. 15 RBIs in his last 16 games en route to career highs across the board. Picks on the first pitch and sends a chopper to Chris Davis. So before we can really get into extolling the virtues of Aaron Hicks' season, there are 2 gone here in the 1st.
You know, it's a small sample size, but normally first pitch success off of pitchers is going to start with a 3. But Tillman's had great success so far this year. You're better off taking the first pitch, because if you put the first pitch in play, it's less than 170 batting average against.
2 out, bases empty now, the way you like to face the major league's home run leader Aaron Judge. 18 big flies, 41 driven in his rookie season. You know, and getting back to Tillman for a moment, as he's already 2/3 of the way through a clean start to the night in the 1st. First innings have been a particular problem for him as he comes back from the shoulder setback. Hoping for a 1-2-3 start here tonight. Next pitch to Judge is hammered into left field. Hooking, fair ball, home run. Aaron Judge just kept it fair for his major league leading 19th of the season.
And this is what we were talking about. There's something special going on right now, and Buck Showalter's going to maybe say he'd like to take a look at it. But look at right here. You've got to get the ball up here. Anything in this box right here, he is going to crush. It needs to be below the zone or above the zone. And I'm telling you right now, watch where that ball is. Right in that box. And that is an absolute missile. And this guy, we've talked about exit velocity since it's come into the new world. Well, he's the king of it.
And he just became the king of his own kingdom there. Previously had the biggest exit velocity of the season. A couple of nights ago, he hit a ball 119 miles an hour. That one at 121.07. Officially the hardest hit ball of 2017. There's Matt Holliday now.
And Matt's the same way, likes the ball down. He is enjoying a nice first year season with the Yankees since coming from the Cardinals. One-year contract.
Holliday's been swinging a potent extra base hit bat the last week plus, and there's a single for him into left.
Well, the home run that we saw is just evidence of big, strong, and not getting it where you need to. This guy has done damage on a lot of pitches, and they don't all have to be home runs. But I'm telling you right now, people do not know the adjustments he has made in less than a year.
Yeah.
He struck out half the times last year. He has made adjustments on 2 strikes. He's putting the ball in play and punishing the baseball, and it's showing up in the numbers.
Well, and just as it appeared that Chris Tillman was going to conquer some of his recent first inning woes, he's got the home run on the board and a 2-out base runner aboard now. Here's Starlin Castro, the 3-time All-Star. You know, getting back to Judge, and we're going to talk a lot about him tonight for reasons that you just saw. The strikeout rate last year had a lot of people thinking that in the prospect list, and there are a lot of them right now at the AAA level for the Yankees, the Judge might not even be the best one. It was a young cast that he was ushered into the big leagues with last year. Greg Bird had arrived before Judge. And that's into the left field corner and damage. Holliday will be held at third, second and third with a run in and 2 away.
And the common theme, Matt, on all these pitches, they don't have the late life, but they're down. They're down in the sweet spot for what the Yankees have been built to do. Watch this pitch. You see where it's supposed to be, but see it goes back over the middle. That's a cement mixer that backs up. You give hot hitters or hitters who feel comfortable at home the ability to locate the ball down in the zone. The results are showing. Now here's a guy right now who last year put on a historic run of home runs. He's getting closer to that spot. He struggled of late. They moved him down in the order. Hit a couple home runs here in this homestand. Boy, if he gets back to half of what he did last year.
20 home runs is what John's referring to in the 53-game audition for Gary Sanchez last year. Made a real run for Rookie of the Year honors despite only playing in about a third of the season. Sanchez has heated up of late. Headed into Thursday's game with Boston, he was in the midst of an 0 for 10 and hitting .248 on the season. Since then, he's gone 5 for 12 with 3 extra base hits in his last 3 games. And in an RBI spot here.
Got a unique batting stance and options. He's got a big leg kick. He's got a toe tap. He's got 3 different ways anticipating a pitch. And in the same game may switch up his approach while hitting.
And Sanchez has a base hit. Holliday scores easily. Castro trying right behind him. Throw to the plate. It's too late. And it's 3-0 Yankees.
Other than Dylan Bundy, this has been a search for Tillman to get back to his old form. Another rolling breaking ball over the middle and down. Down. The Yankees are not missing those pitches. And unfortunately for Tillman. Didi's hitting 500 off of him. So 2 outs. I think the water's fine. Everything's good. 3 runs later, Baltimore's in a hole.
Yeah, the first inning trouble continues for Chris Tillman, who, including tonight, is now yielding a .424 first inning batting average. So it is Didi Gregorius, the left-handed hitting shortstop, with 3 runs in. Didi swings at the first pitch, and that one's gone.
Well, make that 10 for 19 now, and Rogers going to do his best to try and settle down his veteran pitcher. Just not a lot of finish on those pitches. You can tell that he's trying to get comfortable with the mechanics. Here's the perfect swing by Didi, right over the middle, 2-seamer. And right now it's got the makings of a very long night for the Baltimore Orioles.
A pair of home runs. All 5 have been scored with 2 out in the inning. And a Yankee lineup that again has scored 8 or more in 3 straight is threatening to make that a 4-game streak with some early damage tonight. And here's Chase Headley now, the switch hitting third baseman. The 8th Yankee to come to the plate in the last of the first. The Orioles, or the Orioles yesterday in the series opener actually had a 2-0 lead at one point. But since that time, the Yanks have scored 13 straight on 5 home runs. And it's 3 balls and no strikes to Chase Headley.
I tell you, this game can be absolutely cruel. I mean, you just no rhyme or reason sometimes. You could have 3 rockets in an inning, get 3 up, 3 down. Or in this case, you can get 2 outs, nobody on. You think, okay, good, a clean inning, and you look up and it's 5-0.
And a 4-pitch walk to Chase Headley. Well, I mean, we could wear you out with some of these numbers, folks, in terms of what the Yankees are doing with the long ball. But here's the most relevant one in my mind, because this is a franchise rich with home run history, as you know. The Yankees have now hit 95 home runs this season. That's the highest total through 58+ games in franchise history.
It's a rich history.
And there's a lot to go through there. I mean, no offense, but we're not talking about the Marlins or the Diamondbacks here. Here's Chris Carter now. Carter getting a start at first base and getting an opportunity tonight. About the only spots where there haven't been big productivity numbers for the Yankees are at the infield corners at first and third. Greg Bird was counted on to man that first base position. He's in the midst of a minor league rehab assignment and apparently progressing well. But the ankle problem that had him at a 6-for-60 clip at the plate was something that the Yankees felt needed more attention than just big league at bats. So it's been a revolving cast in Bird's absence. He plans to be back here sooner rather than later.
Well, the amazing thing is, you talk about that lack of production from first and third. They might be undefeated if they got more production, because their outfield's the best in baseball. It's carrying them right now in every category: power, defense. I mean, this is a stacked outfield production wise, and you're talking about Ellsbury, who's not even been playing because he's been on the concussion DL.
And that one yanked past Castillo. Wild pitch moves Headley to third, or second rather, with 2 gone. Well, it's just turned into a nightmarish first inning for Chris Tillman.
Yeah, the one thing they're trying to work on with Chris Tillman is to not be so across the body. And when you're coming back from a shoulder scenario, you know, the one thing that's hard is to feel like you get through and you're connected with your mechanics. He's funky. The funkiness uses his advantage. He uses it for his advantage. Right now, it's not working.
Pitch to Carter's fouled away. It's a full count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
This guy over the last 4 years has been pretty consistent for the O's. They are always searching for starting pitchers to go a little bit deeper than they have. Dylan Bundy is their ace. But you can't rely on that great bullpen all the time to get through a season.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Carter. Lined into left, a base hit. They're going to wave Headley around to try to score. The throw for Mancini's too late. And it's a 6-run bottom of the first for New York.
This guy's so strong. All he does is basically use his upper body. And they're challenging Mancini, who's not really an outfielder, but a little movement out of the legs and then upper body. Usually not a good sign when it's still hard to believe. First 2 guys make outs and then the first guy's back up again. That doesn't happen very often.
No, I mean, you talk about keeping the line moving. It's happened 7 times, couple of home runs. And it's back to the top of the order hitter, Brett Gardner. Started out the inning with a strikeout. And Gardner takes a strike. You know, this is an Orioles bullpen, and we didn't think we'd be talking about it in the first inning, but it's an Orioles bullpen that does not have a full arsenal of weapons. Darren O'Day placed on the disabled list this week. They're without their closer, Zach Britton. As a result of those 2 big injuries, everybody's had a little bit of a shifted role down there. There's a bouncer for Scope that will put a merciful end to a 10 at-bat, 6-run last of the first for the Yankees. The big Yankee lineup off and running tonight through just an inning. It's 6-0 New York. Sponsored by Sprint. Works for me. Boy, Aaron Judge with a big home run that started a 6-run Yankee rally in the last of the first. Didi Gregorius adding a home run. It's a 6-0 lead for New York, top of the second inning, and Luis Severino has the benefit of some support early on tonight. We're supporting our Fox colleagues tonight. It's a big day here at Yankee Stadium, as it is Fox News Fan Day here, and we welcome from Fox News Ebony Williams and Catherine Timp from the specialists, the Fox News specialists, weeknights 5 Eastern on Fox News. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is a real blast.
I mean, John
honestly.
was just saying, you know, 6 runs in the bottom of the first.
Yeah.
They're going to want you back tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm a lucky person. I bring luck with me everywhere I go.
Let me ask you
It's
about.
true. It's
I
true.
got a qualifier Monday for the senior tour. Can you come
Sure.
down? I need some luck.
It always gets back to that with John. The senior tour. Here's the 1-2 pitch home, and Mark Trumbo sends a fly ball out to left center field. Tell us about the show, the specialists on Fox News.
So it's great. So as you said, every day, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it's great. It's co-hosted by myself, Kat, and our co-host, Eric Bowling, who's fantastic, not here with us today. And then the really cool part, though, 2 new specialists each and every day. So 40% of the dialogue are brand new voices for our viewers every single
Yeah,
day.
so people get sick of hearing what we have to think, just us 3, and they already know. Well, they don't know what the other 2 are going to think, and they don't know how we're going to interact with them. So it's new, exciting, fresh every day.
That idea could catch on, because when people get tired of what John and I have to say, they
Yeah.
can add to our ranks.
Turn the channel.
Well, that's what you guys just bring us in.
Yeah,
See
exactly.
how
That's why
works?
we're here.
0-1 pitch home to Chris Davis is in for a strike.
So
it's a
I-
quick 0-2 count.
I have a question, because my playing days did not prepare me for my broadcast days. So what I thought was a broadcast schedule, how much more time, people don't understand when you have a show, how much time you have to prep.
The prep. Yeah.
Constantly. I feel like if I'm not paying attention to what's going on in the world, then I'm blowing it.
Yeah, it's really a 24-hour prep, because we cover everything in the news cycle, and as you can imagine, that's a lot these days. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's, 24 hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Taking it in, digesting it.
Davis sends a soft liner to center for Aaron Hicks. Well, what you're talking about is a little different, a little more important than what we talk about.
Yeah.
I don't think John and I would make very good news people.
Oh, I disagree.
I don't think the work ethic isn't there.
Well, if people like Dumb and Dumber, they're going to love my news cycle.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys are giving yourselves a hard time. I'm sure you'd be great.
2 gone in the inning with the bases empty, and that'll bring up the rookie left fielder tonight, Trey Mancini. Tell me about your baseball backgrounds. Is there a team that you follow? Or are you a fan?
Tigers.
Tigers fan?
See, I'm not really a baseball fan so much as I'm just a Detroit fan. I'm from Detroit, so I love all things Detroit, all the teams from Detroit, people from Detroit. I love the city of Detroit. Don't like when people say mean things about Detroit, because it's the, it really is the #1 paradise in the world.
I'm from
Hey,
there.
you're talking to a
That's right.
You're from-
Michigander
yeah,
right
Detroit,
there.
Michigan.
Yeah, Warren, Michigan.
It's the #1 tourist destination.
I'm going to disagree.
Or
I'm going
should
to
be.
say that the southern part of heaven is my team, gentlemen. This right here, this Tar Heel. That's where it's at.
Well, when baseball expands, when Major League Baseball expands to North Carolina,
Which is coming.
is it?
I'm sure it is.
You
Of
have something to
course
break?
it is. Breaking news. You heard it here first. Coming to Charlotte, North Carolina. Why not?
They've talked about it. It's in the running.
It's been a big AAA city for a long time.
Yeah, the Knights. Sure.
The
Charlotte
the
Knights.
Charlotte Knights.
Absolutely.
2 balls and 2
Don't be
strikes to
hating
count
on
to
my city
Mancini.
now. Come
Oh,
on
no,
now.
no. Look, I'm a fan. Hey, I'm a fan of everybody at this point. 2-2 home to Severino, and Mancini sends a drive out to left field. Gardner's there to make the catch in front of the wall to retire the side in order. The specialists, the Fox News specialists, Ebony Williams, Catherine Timp, thanks for being with us, and you can catch the specialists on Fox News weekdays at 5 Eastern. Thank you, ladies.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Is sponsored by Budweiser, proudly brewed across America. This Bud's for you. 6-0 start to the night for the New York Yankees. 6 2-out runs crossing on Chris Tillman's watch in the last of the first. He'll go back out there to try to get it right here in the second and face Aaron Hicks, Aaron Judge, and Matt Holliday for New York. 2 quick outs for Tillman to start his night, and then the trouble began with Aaron Judge keeping a ball just inside the fair pole in left field. 5 more runs would follow in a 6-0 hole.
See, what's crazy about all of this is we've seen in the last couple days some position players have to pitch because their teams got away from them, and they could get 3 outs, right? And then you have all this damage with 2 outs happen to a professional ace of the Baltimore Orioles. It's hard to explain. But I'll tell you where he can turn this outing into a pretty darn good outing. And that may sound crazy, but he's got to give him 5 innings. If he can give them innings, even despite the 6 runs that's been given up, that'll go a long ways for their bullpen so they don't have to eat up what's game 1 of a 3-game series against the first place Yankees.
Swing and a miss, 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Aaron Hicks. Hicks, one of a number of all-star candidates on this Yankee lineup. And to think, for a guy who broke camp, not really sure where his at-bats were going to come from, Aaron Hicks has been a very valuable member of this team. A bouncer to first and played by Davis, flips it to Tillman, close at first base, and they just get there in time.
Hicks can run. Tillman not so much, but he has a direct line to the base. Just a little slow start for Tillman. A tough in-between hop for Chris Davis. Makes a nice play, turns to go to the bag and realizes I can't beat him there, so it's up to you. Tillman in the previous at bats with Judge had thrown him some changeups, right on right changeups. See how he adjusts off of the home run that he hit at a record 121 exit velocity.
Home run number 19 coming in the first. I mean, what Aaron Judge has already accomplished just to begin this season grabs your attention. A ball and no strikes to him here with 1 out and the bases empty in the second. Got Tillman taking some additional time here. Now the 1-0 home. With Willie Mays, Judge has become the only right-handed outfielder to hit 13 home runs in his team's first 26 games. When he hit his 17th, he joined Mark McGwire as the only rookies in Major League history to get to that plateau before the start of June. And so the list of accolades keeps growing with every home run from Aaron Judge.
I mean, people would think that this guy had the club made in right field going into spring training. Not the case. He had to fight for the job.
Yeah.
And Hicks was one of those players. So, I mean, this is an amazing quick turnaround for a young player who did not have great success in his initial entry last year.
And there's a 4-pitch walk that puts him aboard. Well, as we mentioned earlier, he is the top vote getter among American leaguers for the All-Star game. Leads the league with 1 million plus votes. The last rookie to accomplish that was Ichiro back in 2001. Last American League rookie to start an All-Star game was a Yankee, Hideki Matsui, in 03. So Judge in elite company in terms of the All-Star game as well.
Speaking of which, you cannot miss the home run derby this year. Judge against Stanton.
Yeah, that's going to be some appointment viewing. 2 big, strong humans. Here's Matt Holliday, no slouch himself on the size scale. He singled and scored back in the first. 12 home runs for Matt Holliday this year. 5 have come at the expense of the Baltimore Orioles. Judge has stolen 5 bases as well. He's taking a commanding lead off first. Not that he's running in a 6-0 game necessarily, but just proof to the fact that he is more than just a home run hitter, and he's more than just a pull guy.
I want you to look at the difference when we get a chance between a huge human being and Chris Davis.
Yeah, right.
and Aaron Judge, who makes him look like he is not much of a big guy. When they get back to the base right here, this is a better view right here.
You know, and in the orange jersey, you might be tempted to think Chris Davis is Jose Altuve because he's standing next to Aaron Judge, who goes 6'8".
Oh, man.
6'7" is the official height of Aaron Judge in terms of the media guide. And did you see where SI, Sports Illustrated, said that he is the biggest position player by body mass in Major League history? They're doing BMI index on guys now to figure out who's biggest, that is. And there's ball 4 to Matt Holliday. Back-to-back 1-out walks. Holliday and Judge have been kind of a 2-man wrecking crew against the Baltimore Orioles this season. They've combined for 10 home runs in those 10 games with the Birds.
Now you play each team in your division quite a bit. You're going to run into certain guys that get hot. Last year it was Betts for the Red Sox, a 1-man wrecking crew against the Orioles. And this year the Yankees just have multiple options. It really is incredible to watch their lineup be as deep as it is. And primarily, you know, from the right-hand side, a good right-handed pitcher you would think would have success against the majority of these right-handers. But you got to be on your game, and you got to have 3 really good pitches going for you on that given game.
9 straight balls from Chris Tillman, meanwhile. And that modest goal of at least getting through 5 seems a bit farther and farther away now as he struggles with 1 out in the 3rd. Orioles bullpen's been hot since the rocky bottom of the 1st. Another miss, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Tillman's last start Sunday against the Red Sox, he struck out 3 and walked 4. Command was an issue then. Gary Sanchez waiting on deck with 2 runners aboard and only 1 away. And that is 11 straight balls from Chris Tillman tonight.
And that's a cross up right there. Lucky that that ball didn't go to the backstop. Look where he's looking at for, and that thing backs up a little bit to the surprise where he caught it.
The 3-0, swinging on 3-0 for a 3-run home run is Starlin Castro. An 89-90 mile an hour fastball after 11 straight balls, and Starlin Castro was all over it.
Yeah, that's just what we call taking advantage of the count and really selling out for a pitch. That's exactly what Castro did. And not everybody's really good at 3-0, but this is going to do it for Mr. Tillman.
Well, the results in the first inning were rough. Buck Showalter gave him a chance in the second to right the ship, but the Orioles have seen enough. A short one for Tillman, a big hole for the Orioles, and an early pitching change. We'll be right back. Goes an inning in the third this evening, allows a career high 9 earned, 3 home runs on his watch. And it's going to turn into one of those nights for the Baltimore bullpen. One of their younger arms, Stephen Crichton, pitches here. And he'll face Gary Sanchez just to try to give the Orioles a little bit of length and get him into the middle innings tonight.
Pretty much 2-pitch pitcher. You got a little bit of a low 3/4 angle, slider, fastball. He can get up there 96 miles an hour with a 4-seam fastball. Slider at about 82. And really, he's hoping to get some quick outs. Because right now, they got a lot of the game they got to eat up via the bullpen.
0-1 the count to Gary Sanchez, who singled in 2 of the 6 runs in the first inning. Starlin Castro's 3-run home run here in the second, making it a 9-0 game. You know, we hear more about run differential these days than in past decades when we try to consider the worth of a lineup. And the current run differential leader in baseball is the Astros, who beat the Angels today 3-1 to continue their run in the AL West. But the Yankees, with 9 runs tonight, have a run differential of plus 100. 100 more runs scored than allowed. And they are right at the heels of the Astros for the best run differential in baseball.
You know, I'm not as big into that unless it's a big number, right? At the end of the year, plus 200, you can't argue with it. That's not a flaw. But for people to think that it's a predictor of what's going to happen or could happen, I think you get a little stretch there, because there are some blowout games. There are some games that just don't go the way you want. But for the most part, those 2 teams and those 2 numbers you gave will end up very high on the plus run differential.
I mean, that's a big number for early June.
Yes, it is.
You know, on the other side of that metric is, remember that when the Arizona Diamondbacks won a division title in the late 2000s, 2008, I want to say, 2007, 2008, they did it with a run differential that wasn't very good. In fact, it might have even been close to 0. And that's because the way Bob Melvin managed his bullpen in blowouts, if you're going to lose, you're going to lose big. Who cares?
Right.
And there's a bouncer to the shifted infield. Scope makes the play on the shortstop side of the bag.
And that's kind of how people are trying to predict or determine whether Minnesota can hang in there, because they have a negative run differential and they're in first place. So it can work a lot of different ways, and certainly you can make the numbers appear as you want to at times. I mean, it's simple for me, numbers. I go in, I get a number 1, you know, in the supercuts, and it's easy. You know, there's no differential. There's no. I'm content with that right now.
Number 1, $1 tip.
They're the happiest people to see me. Trust me. 5 minutes and that's over.
In and out of the chair. Didi Gregorius hit a home run in the first, a 2-run shot. Judge has hit a solo homer. Starlin Castro a 3-run home run tonight. Well, we went on the air, John, talking about the damage that the Yankees have done at home, how they are on a record-setting home run pace in terms of their own franchise history. They lead the majors in runs per game, and that's a number that'll go up tonight. All that carrying through the first innings in this one this evening. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to Gregorius.
Yeah, and as we outlined, you know, some of the things that were keys to the game did not happen for Baltimore and definitely happened for New York. It was the very first run where Aaron came in and Mr. Judge and said, "Ha, here we go. The rest can follow." I personally haven't seen something like that. I can't recollect, you know, first 2 outs and then basically 7 straight guys reach base and 6 runs later.
Well, the little stretch we talked about at the beginning of the night, 8 or more runs in 3 straight games, that'll continue to a 4th, and we'll put that into context in a little bit. The 3-run home run by Starlin Castro adding to the lead. We'll be right back after a word from our local sponsor. 3 home runs has powered the Yankees to an early 9-0 lead tonight. Back with John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian, and Wellington Castillo digging in to swing the bat for the first time in a game since May 30th, when he was on the bad end of a foul tip that led to some testicular trauma that put him on the shelf for a while. It was actually off the bat of that man Didi Gregorius, and Wellington has taken his time getting back to active duty. His bat was missed, that's for sure. A swing and a miss that bounces away from Sanchez. Let's take you back to when it happened on the 30th. It was in Baltimore, in this foul tip. It looked like Didi got the worst of it because of the reaction. The ball actually came up and clipped him on the wrist, and then it got Castillo on the groin. He was asked yesterday, on the verge of being reactivated, if in fact he was going to change the protective cup that he wears, and he said nope, not changing anything. It was a fluke accident. The plastic works as designed, and we're going to get right back out there tomorrow. Here's the 1-2 after the foul tip, and there's a swing and a miss, and Severino's rolling. With 9 runs of support, he can put it in cruise control for a while.
Yeah, the hardest part about this, especially for a young pitcher, is to not to forget you still have to pitch, because it is easier to pitch with run support. But one would think you don't just pound fastballs all day, but you can take the pressure off yourself by throwing strikes and taking what the offense gives you.
You know, there's an interesting theme between the battery mates tonight, talking about Severino and Sanchez behind the plate. And as we say hello to Ken Rosenthal in earnest for the first time this evening, Kenny, I guess bigger isn't necessarily better for either one of these guys.
Right, that's true in both cases, Matt. And in Severino's case, it was a situation last season where he struggled, the Yankees believe, because he bulked up too much the previous winter. Lost the extension, worked all winter on regaining the flexibility in his legs, stretched out before and after workouts, dropped from 235 to 222. And what we're seeing now is better fastball command, a reborn slider, and most importantly, that changeup is back. He's confident throwing it in any count. As for Gary Sanchez, he bulked up last winter, gained 12 pounds, and scouts have been telling me pretty much all season that it's hurt him behind the plate, isn't blocking pitches effectively. So he has lost some weight since the season started. Joe Girardi telling us before the game he is improving on that aspect of the game. But John, we've seen this all throughout the sport. Sometimes the weights can be a detriment.
Amen. Well, the first guy to really make it popular was Lance Parrish of the Tigers. And Sanchez working on all these attributes to make him a more complete catcher. Even hearing about some of the issues of getting stronger and physically demanding scenario. He's not happy with that one, as you can tell.
Lance Parrish was an enormous presence behind the plate. Brian Downing was no little guy either. He predated Parrish by a bit and actually moved to DH outfield, in part because he was so big that the catching mobility part of his game had eroded. Here's the 0-2 home to Ruben Tejada, and it's popped up. Castro out in short right with Aaron Judge to retire the side in order. 9 up, 9 down for Luis Severino in the midst of a 9-0 lead for the Yankees. A 9-0 lead for the Yankees. The 8-9 then top of the order hitters for New York here in their half of the third. It's Stephen Crichton continuing on the mound for Baltimore after the short start by Chris Tillman, in which he couldn't get past an inning and a third tonight. Touched up on not one, not two, but 3 home runs by the Yankees early on this evening. 2 balls and no strikes to the veteran switch hitter Chase Headley. Well, we referenced this earlier, the fact that the infield corner is about the only non-super productive spot in the Yankee lineup these days. There's a bouncer out to the shifted infield. Jonathan Scopes in short right to take care of Headley. And I think it's probably fair to say there's a little bit of additional pressure on the likes of Chase Headley and whoever's playing first base, Chris Carter, tonight, because there's a lot of talent on the farm at those positions, the left side of the infield in particular. And I think there are rumblings, if things hadn't been going as well as they are everywhere else, you might be hearing more and more people talking about moves at those spots. Here's Carter now with 1 gone. Gleyber Torres, the super prospect that the Yankees got in the Aroldis Chapman deal with the Cubs last year. Headley, a former All-Star, former Gold Glover, started out great in April. 2-0 now to Chris Carter.
Yeah, he really was on the short end not too long ago to start that. I mean, it was almost like you feel really bad for the guy, as bad as he was struggling, and he came into his own and started hitting, and now he's kind of reverted a little bit back to that.
That's a fair ball as it scoots past Tejada into the left field corner. Carter on his way into second. The throw there is in time to get him. They will no doubt be looking at this again in the Yankee clubhouse, but Trey Mancini took a convenient hop off the corner in left field and threw a perfect strike to second base.
Yeah, that almost looked like it happened in slow motion. The tag and the slide, he kind of slowed down a little bit, slowed up to make the slide. See how his foot just kind of popped up and then didn't get right to the bag? That was enough to get the tag. And we're not used to seeing a ball get down the third base line. You know why? Manny Machado is one of the greatest at getting not only these plays, but any kind of defensive stop at third base.
So the Yankees decide not to challenge the play at second base for the reason you just saw. Carter was in fact thrown out there. They're scoring that ball as an error to Tejada. And then the out at the bag at second, and there's 2 gone in the inning. So the 0-1 to Brett Gardner misses inside, a ball and a strike. Perhaps in a different feeling start to the night when it's not 9-0, the Yankees give some more consideration to challenging that play as Gardner lifts one foul.
Yeah, you would think there's a little bit of a.
Not quite as urgent given the circumstances. And Joe Girardi last year had a lot of success in managerial challenges. There were only 2 teams in baseball that had a higher percentage of overturned calls after a challenge than the Yankees. Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Brett Gardner. Lifted into the other corner. Mancini is out there looking for a play, and he makes the catch. Took that one away from a fan to make for the first 1-2-3 inning of the night on the home side of the scorecard. Still 9-0 Yankees. By Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Home run, the weapon of choice for the Yankees on top 9-0. A solo shot for the Major League's home run leader Aaron Judge. Didi Gregorius a 2-run home run. And Starlin Castro a 3-run shot. Part of the 9-0 Yankee lead. Seth Smith leads things off in the Orioles half of the fourth. Top of the order for Baltimore as Luis Severino has been perfect to start this night. 9 up, 9 down with 4 strikeouts so far.
Boy, Joe Girardi would love to get a clean 6-7 innings, easy, stressless, if possible. Severino looking really in control of everything.
You know, we've talked so much about the Yankee lineup, and it would not be a complete discussion if we failed to mention how good the rotation is held up, with the exception of Masahiro Tanaka, who was supposed to go tomorrow and has since been pushed back a day. And Joe Girardi still weighing his options. Larry Rothschild, pitching coach, weighing their options for tomorrow. Their staff has held up remarkably well when you consider it was an age question mark at the start of the season. Tanaka's troubles notwithstanding, CC Sabathia has been brilliant. They got a great start from a rookie left-hander yesterday. Severino's been great all year long. Michael Pineda has been consistent, and that's been the key word for him the last few years around here.
Oh, a little flinch.
A ball and 2 strikes, the count to Seth Smith. Still 1-2. 98 miles an hour from Luis Severino, who, oh, by the way, has the highest fastball velocity this year in baseball. Used to be that team across town. You wanted to see big fastballs, you went and watched the Mets play, and Syndergaard and DeGrom and Harvey.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's the Yankees' turn to flash the fastball.
5 strikeouts for Severino tonight. Hey, Thursday, the world's greatest players battle to be crowned America's champion in golf's can't miss major of the year. The 117th U.S. Open begins Thursday on Fox FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
Beautiful piece of property, an old dairy farm that they turned into golf. Stretching that thing way out. They can get to 8,000 yards. If there's any wind at all, good luck to the best players in the world.
Jonathan Scope now with 1 gone. And Scope quickly behind 0-2. Scope's been a strikeout victim tonight. Again, one of the 5 posted by Severino. When Severino pitched on Sunday against Toronto and didn't factor into the decision in a 3-2 Jays win. That one's one-hopped and smothered by Carter. Fine play for route number 2. We'll talk about Severino's last start in a moment. First, a great pitching matchup between the Tigers and Red Sox, and Kevin Burkhardt has an update in our Fox Sports studios. Sale with 5 Ks there. Severino with 5 Ks here in a 9-0 game. Thank you, Kevin. We'll be keeping tabs on the Red Sox and Tigers tonight. Here's Adam Jones now with 2 gone. And he'll pick on the first pitch and keep Severino perfect tonight through 4. A developing story perhaps in the Bronx. Brighton came on in the second inning tonight, and he continues here in the fourth. Aaron Hicks without a hit so far tonight, 0 for 2. Driven in 15 runs in his last 16 games. At 314 overall.
No, inevitably, it always happens. There could be a big outburst of hits and runs, and you're always going to have a couple players, it seems like, that don't fall in line. Already, Gardner, one of the hotter hitters on the team, is 0 for 3, and they've got 9 runs on the board.
Judge a part of that with his major league leading 19th home run of the year in the first. Opened up the 6-run inning. And a strike to Hicks. It's 1-2. The draft is coming up on Monday. And you think about the beginnings of a lot of these Yankee players. And for Aaron Hicks, his career started as a first-round pick by the Twins back in 2008. And I recall at the time the conversation around him regarded one of the finest prospects coming out of Los Angeles, prep prospects from the LA area since Darryl Strawberry. And it didn't happen for him in Minnesota, but it appears it's happening for him here in the Bronx. Everything the Twins thought was there has been unlocked in a different uniform. Look at the turnaround from last year.
Good pitch. And I think every time there's an opportunity, or even when you think you're going in a certain direction, doors will open for certain players, and sometimes it takes longer for those things to happen. But being prepared and always ready for the moment is a huge part.
I guess, you know, that whole 2008 draft class, Kenny, you could call it the class of late bloomers.
It's really interesting, Matt. There are 4 guys who are in that top 15 who are just really emerging this season 9 years later. Hicks, the number 14 pick, is one of them. Tim Beckham, number 1 pick, ahead of Posey, ahead of Hosmer. He's finally getting a chance to play shortstop with the Rays, doing really well in place of the injured Matt Duffy. And 2 other guys, Yonder Alonso, who went number 7 to the Reds, and Justin Smoke, who went number 11 to the Rangers. Well, they're both on their 3rd clubs, but both, like Hicks, could be all-stars.
Aaron Judge, another former first-rounder, and it's a good time to remind you that the draft, the careers of all these players begin on draft day. The 2017 Major League Baseball draft coverage begins at 6 Eastern this Monday night on MLB Network and on MLB.com. Judge has homered and walked tonight.
All right, I'm going to need your help. Maybe not so much throughout this game, but I want your mind, your inquisitive, sharp, quick wit. I'm filling out another team because of this guy right here. I don't know, the all-court team, the all-something. You know, obviously, Judge speaks for itself. But,
well, I mean, the puns on his last name and his size have been flying around the media like we're handing out M&Ms, you know. All rise, court's in session,
right.
Guilty, may I approach the bench, all the shticky stuff. I mean, it still plays because he's hitting home runs and he's in the news every night.
So just so people at home know how it works and how the strange brain of John Smoltz works, you come up with last names that fill the category. You know, Barry Bonds, for example. You know, Bondsman.
Ah, okay.
Marvin Freeman. That has something to do with court. You got to be a free man. The stretch would be like innocent till proven guilty, Bernard Gilkey. It's hard to get to that.
Okay.
You know.
It's like your all jurisprudence team.
Right. Like a very creative one would be juries familiar.
Okay.
Familiar. You know, juries. Need a jury if you're going to have a judge.
Did you consider Johnny Bench?
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about.
As a base hit for Aaron Judge. Hicks trying for the extra base, and Judge continues with another base hit tonight. In fact, his performance has not only inspired nickname teams, it's inspired, I guess, the legal world in other ways.
Have you been harmed by an Aaron Judge home run? Are you a pitcher who is looking for compensation due to a skyrocketing ERA? Has your stadium property ever been damaged? Are you afraid for your safety in the workplace? Call now for a free consultation. Tater, Dinger, and Jackson, the baseball injury attorneys.
It's amazing that we actually found a Michael Kay impersonator online to voice that. It sounded a little bit like Michael.
It sure did.
The longtime voice of the Yankees on the Yes Network. Someone's out there taking your work away, Michael. Here's Matt Holliday now with runners at the corners and nobody out. Holliday has walked, singled, and scored 2 runs tonight. To the opposite field and well hit. Smith looks up and that one's gone. Another 3-run home run. Santa Maria.
Well, that ties him up with his now nice friendly. See where they wanted it, see where it ended up. And look, this guy, when the ball's down, and this ballpark has the ability to go to right field, left field, and you're as strong as that man. Tied now with Gardner, right? Is that correct?
That is correct. 13 home runs apiece. Somebody's going to let their hair grow out. I mean, the Yankees are just putting on a big-time power display tonight. It's getting out of hand. 12-0 in the last of the 4th. 4 home runs. And it's the 20th time this year they've scored 8 or more. They are undefeated during that stretch. Duh. Man. Starlin Castro now. He's homered tonight. Yeah, we've got our research team scurrying through the record books to see what other kind of plateaus could be potentially hit tonight. Edwin Jackson's up in the bullpen for Baltimore. The veteran right-hander back in the big leagues, and he is only 1 uniform away from tying the most well-traveled player in Major League history in employers. The veteran reliever Octavio Dotel. 2 balls and no strikes. The count to Starlin Castro.
All right, so if you're getting ready to pitch against the Yankees and you've got all this wealth of information and video, you're going to see one of the common denominators has been if they're comfortable and they hit the ball down, you've got to be able to go in and up, change their eye levels. Unfortunately, the pitching staffs are not all equipped with the ability to command the great stuff that a lot of these young guys have. So to have success and to have a unified success as a pitching staff, when you go over the meetings, you're trying to emphasize where the weak spots are of these guys. Right now, it doesn't seem like many places.
Yeah. I want to get back to Matt Holliday for a sec, because when he signed a 1-year deal to become a Yankee, I think there were a lot of people that thought, oh, you know, that's nice. Here's a veteran hitter. He's going to give him a right-handed presence. Who knows what's going to happen in their young outfield? You don't know about Tyler Austin. We didn't know Aaron Judge was going to be what he is. Matt Holliday has turned into much more than what they thought he'd be. Not only a veteran presence, but a big-time productive presence for the Yankees. 13 home runs, 42 runs driven in. And to think about everything that ails the St. Louis Cardinals, his former employer, they've struggled in terms of right-handed power productivity. That was Holliday. They'll pop out to short right. Smith's on the run to make the catch, and that's the first out of the inning.
Yeah, and what's amazing is you get up there in age, you look at Matt Holliday. He's absolutely tearing it up this month. You see now with 13 home runs, but as you get up there in age, the velocity, the ability to hit velocity goes down a little bit, and you are actually better suited for the philosophy that the pitchers are adopting today. Less fastballs and more breaking balls. And if you don't make him honest and you don't get the ball in the area where he has a trouble, he is just going to continue with that low arc kind of swing through the zone, and strong human being. Here's Gary Sanchez now. He has singled in a pair of runs tonight.
12-0 New York. 4 home runs for the Yankees.
There's one area the Yankees actually could get better, and they did it in the first inning. I'm talking to Joe Girardi, he'd like to see runners in scoring position. Their approach being a little bit better. If they're down with average, I mean, tonight's going to help. But they hit so many home runs, that's why they're never out of a game. So they get runners on base. They hit the most home runs with runners on base. They've got the most home runs here at home. So they're never out of a game, and they've rallied and won a lot of games late.
You're really splitting hairs when you're worried about your numbers with runners in scoring position and you lead the league in home runs or runs scored per game. But I get his point.
Yeah, the reason is, you don't think continuously you can keep getting. You're going to run into some dominant pitchers. You're going to have to get a better approach, especially if you get into the postseason. Tonight they're 4 for 4 and they've got 9 RBIs. That's going to go a long way to helping that cause.
Sanchez yanks another ball into the left field corner. A 2-run single and an RBI double for Gary Sanchez tonight. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt, who's got a game break back at our Fox Sports studios. That's fantastic. You can't throw me out. I got a bird on my arm here. We're going to have a pitching change as Edwin Jackson enters here in the 4th. We'll be right back. Led the way for the New York Yankees so far tonight in a sizable 12-0 lead over the Orioles. Still in the last of the 4th inning, and Baltimore's on its 2nd reliever of the night already. Hey, this has been a trend the last 4 games for the Yankees. They've scored 37 runs, and you're led to believe they're not done yet tonight. Note the bottom of your screen there, they've pitched well too during this stretch. A .58 ERA, and oh, by the way, Luis Severino has not allowed a base runner this evening. Through 4, he's been perfect. Didi Gregorius, the batter, he'll face the new pitcher for Baltimore, the veteran right-hander Edwin Jackson, who was signed by the Orioles in April after the season had began the year in AAA Norfolk and threw the ball well. The 3.10 ERA over 12 games. Only 1 was a start. And Edwin was called back to the big leagues this past week, made his Orioles debut back on the 7th a few days ago. Edwin Jackson pitching for his 12th different team, and that is one uniform shy of the all-time record held by Octavio Dotel, who plied his craft in 13 different home cities.
This guy's been used to moving around, making new friends, wearing different jerseys, and pitching a lot.
Split time last year between the Padres and Marlins. And Didi Gregorius sends a ball into the right field corner. Seth Smith on the run out there and makes the catch just in front of the 314 sign. Tagging for third is Sanchez, and there are 2 away. Edwin Jackson made his major league debut as a Dodger at the age of 19. So goes to work on Chase Headley now. And entered Major League Baseball with a bang. Defeated Randy Johnson in his first ever big league start. He's accomplished a lot. Yes, he's been well traveled. There have been some bumps in the road. This is a guy who's thrown a no-hitter.
I think it was something like, hold your ears, everybody. I think it was 150 some pitches. I know we don't talk like that anymore.
The no-hitter you're talking about?
Some crazy number.
He walked a lot of guys, I think.
A lot of walks. A lot of pitches, but no hitter.
Oh, 0-2 the count to Chase Headley.
When you think about the Yankees, the way they started, they had injuries to Sanchez early.
Yep.
Bird. They were missing a lot of pieces that, you know, it looked like, oh, shoot, what's going to happen? How are we going to get this done? And then went on that incredible 30-game stretch. And, you know, even though playing 500 balls since then, they are well positioned to do something that most teams can't do, and that is add on to an already good team with the strength of their prospects and the ability to really fix any issue they may have moving forward.
Yeah, not to mention, for the first time in recent memory, there are not a handful of burdensome contracts that are preventing them from conducting business at the trade deadline. I mean, the Ellsbury contract is big. The good news is, even though he's hurt, they're having great outfield productivity despite that. CeCe's in his last year. He's making money, but he's here in his last year. I mean, I don't know that you can remember a Yankee team in the last 10, 15 years that hasn't been weighed down by a lot of veteran burdensome contracts.
But it just goes to show you the narrative in the first week, how long ago that was. They had no Didi Gregorius. He got hurt in the World Baseball Classic. They were having trouble scoring. It was like, where is the offense going to come from? They didn't know about Judge. Yeah. They didn't know what he was going to do. They knew about Sanchez, and when he went down, it was like, oh no, this is the guy that carried us last year.
They didn't know Aaron Hicks was going to hit 100 points better than what he did last year and have a OPS above about 1,000. Everything has gone right. The next 2-2 home, and a swing and a miss by Headley. So Edwin Jackson comes out of the bullpen and cools things off, but more damage. Matt Holliday's 3-run home run, adding to the Yankee lead at home. Well, in a 12-0 game, the remaining intrigue tonight seems to be revolving around what else Luis Severino may be able to accomplish. He's been perfect through 4 so far this evening. He has struck out 5 batters, and so much for the argument that a starter sitting around on the bench during long half innings when his team is batting is going to affect your performance. It hasn't so far, and Luis Severino has sat around for nothing but long innings in this one. A ball and 2 strikes. The count to Mark Trumbo leading off the 5th. Trumbo, Davis, and Mancini for the Orioles.
Usually the score determines how an offense can change their philosophy. It doesn't matter with the Orioles. Up 12 or down 12, they have the same philosophy. Homers, walks, and strikeouts.
Yeah. Well, it's been referred to the last number of years in the stats community as the 3 true outcomes, and the Orioles are at the top of the list or near it. 1/3 of all plate appearances in the game result in walk, strikeout, or home run these days. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Mark Trumbo.
99 and Trumbo. Good hack.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Severino hasn't even been in a full count until this moment. 5 strikeouts again. A clean scorecard through 4. And his 3-2 misses the inside corner ball 4. First base runner for Baltimore tonight. Our game summer is sponsored by Budweiser, and I mean, what do you want to know about this game? That's all you need to know. Just take a look at the numbers. Brett Gardner, the only player to not reach base for the Yankees, and with Chris Carter, they are the only Yankees without having scored a run tonight on a 12-0 scoreboard. Here's Chris Davis now.
For Chris Davis, of course, he re-upped with the Orioles. Really some interesting numbers when you think about the last 4 or 5 years. His power numbers along with his strikeout numbers. The strikeout numbers are going up. He's got basically a one-plane swing, and what I mean is in the one area he delivers the same kind of swing. That one right there. So if you go higher than that swing in his hands, he's in trouble. If you go lower, he's in trouble. But if you make a mistake over the middle of the plate, you're in trouble. So strong, but that's the same swing on every pitch that you will see for the most part. And he's banking you'll make a mistake and you will pay for it.
Behind 0-2 with Trumbo off first. A swing and a miss, and Severino gets him for his 6th strikeout of the night.
So after the first pitch, you see the last 2 pitches that Severino was able to tie him up in, and then that last pitch he was able to blow him out away.
1 out, 1 on for Trey Mancini, who in the midst of a trying week and trying stretch really for the Orioles has provided them with some life. Had a big game last week against the Pittsburgh Pirates in which he tied the game with a pinch hit home run and then won the game with a home run in extra innings. And he shoots the hole the other way this time. So the perfect game goes away with a walk. The no-hitter goes away with the 1-out single. Luis Severino, with fans acknowledging his first 4+ innings, give him a nice round of applause.
We're talking with Joe Girardi, and you're always looking for what's the transformation of a player from one year to the next. And of course, 0-8 and some of those starts that he was able to go last year before he went to the pen. And this year he talked about the mental process of slowing down in between pitches. And what that means is he would, I think with any young pitcher, the opportunity to make up for your mistakes. If you go too fast, you'll just make more of them. And we aren't talking about the process of actually throwing the baseball in between pitches. It's the mental process of, okay, take a breath. Now I'm still going to work quick, but it's not going to be at a fast, double down your mistakes pace.
0-2 the count to Wellington Castillo. A couple of things to watch here in this appearance. The fact that the Orioles have been very good with runners in scoring position. We haven't had a chance to talk about that until this moment. Best batting average with runners in scoring position in the American League. And the Yankee pitchers on the other side of that have been particularly stingy with runners in scoring position. They have held opponents to an 0 for their last 42.
That doesn't seem right, does it? That's incredible.
That's just some kind of stretch. And Stats Inc., who provide us with our statistical research, the data that they have on that goes back to 1974. And the team that had the best run was the '77 Reds, who at one point held opponents to an 0 for 49 with runners in scoring position. So what the Yankees are in the midst of here is challenging a recent record at 0 for 42. It's tough to get numbers like that going back to the dead ball era. So 74 is as far back as we can go. A ball and 2 strikes the count to Castillo with Trumbo and Mancini aboard and 1 gone. Baltimore's first legitimate chance to get a run on the board tonight.
So one might ask, Matt, how are other teams scoring against you? Well, it's either got to be a solo home run or a 2-run homer with a runner on first, or a triple with a runner on first. The scoring position statistics start when a guy gets on second and or third base.
The next 2-2. And Castillo hanging around.
That's why they tell you the number one criteria for successful pitching obviously is going strike one, but getting the leadoff hitter out. When you get the leadoff hitter out and the next guy gets on, you're always a ground ball away from ending the inning in a double play. But it's much harder to score from first, obviously, than it is from second. Once they get on second, they can start peering in, see the sign, see the location. You have a hard time being able to decoy that if they want to relay that to the hitter.
And a swing and a miss by Castillo. 7 strikeouts for Severino. And Yankee pitchers have now held their opponents to an 0 for 43 with runners in scoring position.
Now there's the breaking ball right off the plane of the fastball. It was so good that even Sanchez couldn't catch it.
All 7 of Luis Severino's strikeouts have come swinging tonight. Now it's J.J. Hardy, who was victimized in such a way back in the 3rd. You know, let's not forget that Luis Severino is still only 23 years old. And because he had such a rocky 2016, when he was expected to have turned the corner last year, had a great debut in 2015. And the Yankees thought, here's a young arm, homegrown arm we can build around. Last year was a bit of a regression. So it didn't arrive at the time the Yankees thought it may, but it's here now. Speaking of Severino's impact on the rotation.
Well, I know Pedro Martinez likes him a lot. I'm sure they've had some conversations to be able to help the young man out in ways that young pitchers who look up to Pedro and what he was able to do and how dominant he was even at his size.
Hardy sends one back at him. Another shutout inning. And the 12-0 lead is in check in the middle of the ball game. Weekend with Major League Baseball on FS1 and Fox. The Rays take on the Tigers at 4 Eastern on FS1. Then at 8 Eastern, the Cubs battle the Pirates on Fox. Check your local listings for the Fox MLB game in your area. Baseball a little later on Fox next week to accommodate the U.S. Open. Back here, meanwhile, in the Bronx with John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian, and a 12-0 Yankee lead. 4 home runs by the Yankees tonight. They got 6 in the first and have added on since. Chris Carter's had a nice night. You'll see 2 for 2 on his line. Initially, the official scorers had called his ball in the third an error on Ruben Tejada. That scoring decision was later changed to give him a base hit.
Good, because I did my scorecard in pen and I wasn't about to change it. So
I know what happens when you get one wrong like that. Then you just abandon.
I give up.
Yeah,
you're right. But I've been on an epic streak lately of just, I don't know what it is, just locked in and not making any mistakes with the pen.
Looks good.
Thank you. I knew I could do better this year.
2 balls into strike to count to Chris Carter. Hey, elsewhere in Major League Baseball earlier today, the Colorado Rockies defeated the Chicago Cubs. Rocks have won 7 in a row. They've been great on the road. They've won 24 of 34 away from Denver, which will go a long way to silence their critics in talking about Colorado as being a altitude offense. There's a ground ball for Tejada and 1 away. But maybe the more interesting part of that story is you can see the Rockies and some of their big performers, 3 guys who've made great cases to be at the All-Star game next month.
Well, it's another example of a plan that didn't go the way they wanted to, and look at the results. Mark Reynolds was there for insurance, but Ian Desmond was supposed to be their first baseman. Look at the 17 home runs. You're going to take him out of the lineup? I don't think so. And their starting staff, so young but so dominant. When would you ever see a Rockies team ERA inside the top 10? And that's exactly where they are in every category: starters, relievers, and overall team ERA. So they are doing what nobody would give them a lot of credit to do, and I might say a lot of people don't think it's sustainable. So don't tell new manager Bud Black
no,
and the Colorado Rockies it can't happen.
There's a base hit for Gardner, a hot shot that scoots past Davis into right. Well, the Rockies again winners of 7 in a row. 3-game lead over the Dodgers. And let's bring Kenny in on this, because Kenny, a lot of the naysayers out there, to build on what John said, they feel like with a rookie rotation, and that's kind of what they have right now, it's going to be tough to sustain come the dog days of summer.
Matt, I've basically been in agreement with that, but that rotation is evolving. Just added Jeff Hoffman. He pitched today. He came over in the Tulowitzki trade. Another talented young arm. And keep in mind, they're going to get their ace back, Jonathan Gray. And they also expect to get back Chad Bettis, who is somewhat of a mediocre middle-level starter, but a veteran who can chew innings. So they've got options going forward. Their young guys are not on innings limits per se. They feel they can sustain this, and this is the first time, guys, they've had a pitching-oriented manager, Bud Black, and it shows.
Yeah, seems to be making quite an impact as Aaron Hicks yanks the first pitch foul. The Rockies with a young rotation. The team that they defeated today, the Chicago Cubs, with that veteran rotation. That might be the more interesting part of that matchup. Chicago Cubs, the defending World Series champs, fall under 500 with a loss today, John. It's been an underwhelming title defense run for them so far this year.
Yeah, and the narrative of just give him time, wait till it heats up, all these different things is starting to get a little nervous for the fans and people who believe that this is a team certainly built for 162 games. But Hendricks currently on the DL, Lester being the mainstay there, Arrieta on his big free agent year, and certainly Lackey, and trying to get that kind of starting pitching they got last year. Very hard to duplicate. But for me, it's the offense. It's the offense that's struggling, and the Schwarbers that I still can't believe what he did last year.
Yeah.
Just some of that continuity is going to have to start getting going again before that fear factor of, uh-oh, here come the Cubs, and there's a 5-game lead in their division.
They are a month ahead of the pace that they needed last year to lose 30 games, the Cubs. There's a pop on the other side of the infield. Oh, look out, little collision over there. J.J. Hardy was tracking it. He couldn't get away from Mancini, and the ball drops free. Second and third now with 1 away. Hardy went a long way to get to that ball. It was a terrific effort, and Trey Mancini just couldn't stay out of harm's way that time.
Yeah, this is very fortunate Hardy doesn't get really hurt right here, because at this point he jumps. He doesn't even know that Mancini's going to undercut him, and then he doesn't know where the ball is because he's laying on the other side. Mancini again trying to stay out of the way. That is very, very close to being a much more costly play than just a bloop double. It's going good for Hicks right now. That's amazing.
It is scored a double for Aaron Hicks. Second and third, one gone, and Aaron Judge has a chance to do more damage tonight. A home run, a base on balls, a single. He scored 3 runs.
And nobody has changed the eyesight, and nobody has made an in or outside pitch to be able to do anything from this big 6'7" frame. You know, when a comp, Dave Winfield, was playing, he stood similar to Judge but more off the plate, and it looked inviting that you could throw a pitch away to Dave Winfield, but that's where he wanted it. You had to figure out by painful ways that you needed to pitch him in. The league's going to figure out and make adjustments. They're going to have to pitch this young man up.
And that one hits him. Jackson just trying to pitch him in, hits him in the shoulder. Or did it hit him at all? Aaron Judge is reacting as though it didn't. I mean, I know he's strong, and maybe he didn't feel it. No, it missed him somehow. Man.
But getting the ball in that area.
Hit him.
Yeah,
John,
he wants to hit.
He wants to swing the bat.
He wants to hit, absolutely.
I mean, is this at bat writing itself? It's 2-2 now.
Well, he does have a little pad right there, so that pad could have not given him the sensory feeling of the jersey being hit. Good tight slider by Edwin Jackson.
Somebody's going to ask him after the game if he knew he got hit by that pitch and blew it off because he wanted to swing it. Holiday next with 1 away. And he's sticking around on 2-2. You know, one of the first people to be on Aaron Judge after he was drafted, because a lot of people respected the athleticism. You can see the tools, but he was not a finished product by any stretch when he was drafted as a first rounder. The Yankee special consultant and Hall of Famer Reggie Jackson, who a couple of years ago said that Aaron Judge is going to be the next great Yankee because he reminds me of power hitters from my generation, from the 60s and 70s.
Frank Howard type power.
Frank Howard. It's a left-handed comp, but Willie Stargell. Reggie said he's a kind of a right-handed pops. Hit for power to the opposite field. A full count to him now, 3-2.
Well, being that tall, pitchers can be lured into thinking that his strike zone's bigger and you can attack the strike zone. And that's exactly where he crushes. Every guy's got a hot and cold zone. His cold zones are outside of the strike zone, way low or way high.
He's been great with 2 strikes this year. 8 of his 19 home runs in 2 strike counts. Lined into left. 2 more RBIs for Aaron Judge. And a 14-0 Yankee lead.
Well, once again, he said, I'm up here to hit that little jersey. But again, this area right here, when that pitch goes to that area, man, does he do damage right there on that line. That is his power stroke. That is comfortable for a big man, dropping the barrel of the bat, quiet mechanics, and just punishing pitchers who don't make him change or deviate from that area.
So now Matt Holliday, who's also enjoying a great night. A walk, a single, and a 3-run home run.
Now the only success so far in the last couple games, pitching wise, has been Drew Pomeranz, and he had to work for everything he got. 5 innings, but he throws generally up anyways. High fastballs, a lot of curveballs, gave the Yankees some fits. But everybody else, David Price, even though at 95, 96, works down in the zone. Sanchez got him a couple times. By the way, small sample size, but oh my, 4 home runs.
Yeah, that's ownership.
Wow.
Confident in saying that. A ball and no strikes, the count to Matt Holliday. By the way, the Mets are playing a doubleheader today. One of 2 doubleheaders in Major League Baseball on this Saturday. Oakland and Tampa Bay played a scheduled doubleheader today, and that was the first one of those in about 25 years. The Yankees in 5 innings tonight have scored 14 runs, matching the entire Mets output in the doubleheader against the Braves. And by the way, the Mets scoring 14 runs in 2 games is nothing to sneeze at. A 6-1 win in the opener, an 8-1 win in the nightcap. We don't mean to diminish what the Mets did, but the Yankees have done that in 5 innings tonight.
Wait a minute. Go back to what you said. That the Rays scheduled a doubleheader.
Scheduled doubleheader today.
On a Saturday?
On a Saturday. Rays and A's. That's going to be another base hit for Matt Holliday. Judge held at third. Let's talk about at least one of those doubleheaders and get a game break and an update from Kevin Burkhardt, KB. Yeah, very positive indeed, Kevin, with Matz returning to duty and the Mets sweeping that doubleheader today.
Did you see the smile on Moses's face when that went? Just the excitement.
Our resident Mets apologist on our crew, the great Moses Messina, with us tonight.
And confidence that they got another run in them.
Well, they're 10.5 back of first place Washington, and I'm not sure if it's the NL East or the AL West that is more under lock and key at this hour, because Houston is threatening to embarrass everybody in that division, and Washington has been terrific to start the year in the NL East. Ronald Torreyes batting for Castro, sends one to Hardy, who will send it to Scope for 1, and the relay back to first, the double play. Not before more damage. Aaron Judge in a 2-run double, making it a 14-0 Yankee lead. telecast is sponsored by MasterPass, the simple, secure way to pay, and by USAA, insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community. Everything going the way of the home side tonight. Back with John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal. Matt Vasgersian. Luis Severino's yielded just one hit, and he's got 14 runs of support on the board for him. Ronald Torreyes takes over at second base for Starlin Castro, the man he pinch hit for last half inning. Top of the sixth, and Ruben Tejada leads things off for Baltimore. Tejada, then Smith and Scope. 7 strikeouts for Severino tonight. The only kind of mini trouble inning that he had to navigate through was the 5th, when he walked the leadoff hitter Mark Trumbo and then gave up the leadoff, the one-out single rather, to Trey Mancini. No damage in terms of the scoreboard. Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Ruben Tejada. You know, there's some things that have happened on the positive for the Orioles this year that we just haven't had a chance to get into, such as their success with runners in scoring position, hitting .300 this year, best in the American League. The great start in April, the fact that they're still in the middle of the pack despite this recent kind of offensive swoon they're in the midst of. But tonight, the game dialogue really hasn't allowed for a lot of positive Orioles talk.
Yeah, and it's amazing too. They had 2 really unbelievable comeback wins against the Pirates. You think that could turn that into something, but it really is about starting pitching, your next day starting pitchers. So their inability to be consistent without overcoming their pitchers and the offense.
Reminder, tonight's telecast is sponsored by Ford, going further so you can. Second straight inning that Severino's lost the leadoff hitter to a base on balls. Here's Seth Smith now with a man aboard.
Severino does a great job, and even though he's out of the stretch, does a great job getting to his left side and staying forward to home plate without falling off to first base. And those quiet mechanics and powerful arm are a big reason why he's successful.
Bounce to the second base side of the bag. Chase Headley was over there in the shift, and the Yankees turned it into a double play. Let's check in on that good pitching matchup between the Red Sox and the Tigers with Kevin Burkhardt. Yeah, those uniforms have changed in the Sale versus everybody else rivalry, but you know, Sale and Verlander were big time rivals in the same division for such a long time, and Chris Sale teams are 0-5 when he faces Justin Verlander. Ball and no strikes, the count to Jonathan Scope to 1-1 now with 2 gone and the base is empty here in the visitors' half of the 6th.
So here's a good example. Watch the windup and how he finishes and how he gets through, and his arm whips at the last minute.
Back to Severino. Nothing despite the leadoff walk to the bottom of the 6th inning. All Yankees in the Bronx tonight. Baseball's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. 14-0 Yankees. And Gary Sanchez leading things off against Edwin Jackson in the last of the 6th. A lot of changes for Baltimore defensively here. We'll post those for you in just a moment. Sanchez, Gregorius, and Headley for the Yankees. And as we've documented tonight, just about everybody in the Yankee lineup has contributed in one way, shape, or form this evening. 0-2 the count to Sanchez.
Well, seeing Sanchez last year was incredible. All right. And now seeing Judge this year, it's got me thinking, what are the best combination of young players within a year, right, of rookie status, maybe just outside of rookie status? I think we've come up with a pretty good combo of people that I think these two guys are in the running with. It is incredible to think about a lineup with two young hitters and being the majority of that power and production is coming from these two guys. It just doesn't happen like that in the course of our baseball history. Usually it's one guy blended in. But Sanchez and Judge are going to be the talk of this town, I have a feeling, for quite some time. And if they follow the company that we're about to show you of some of the guys in the past, it's going to be a good run for the Yankees.
2 balls and 2 strikes the count to Gary Sanchez. We mentioned there's some changes for the Orioles defensively, and we'll get to those duos in a moment. Joey Rickard takes over in center. Hyun-Soo Kim takes over in left. Trey Mancini moves to first. Davis to third. He's played there a little bit this year. And Ruben Tejada moves to short. J.J. Hardy comes out of the game. Foul tip, and it's still 2-2. So even Buck Showalter taking advantage of the lopsided football style score to at least get some reps for guys at different positions, like Davis, who's had to play some third in the absence of Manny Machado this week. A chance to get Kim and Rickard into the game in the outfield.
That's a good pitch. That's the kind of pitching, and that's the kind of discomfort you have to make a guy feel when he is comfortable and swinging the bat really well. Now you just got to make a 3-2 pitch off of that.
Full count to Gary Sanchez. And he lost him on ball 4. On to your dynamic duos, John.
Yes. We talk about Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews back in the day when these two youngsters go on and have incredible careers, but it was the early youth with McCovey, Cepeda. The list is not that long because you can't find a lot of these dynamic duos, and Fred Lynn and Jim Rice are outstanding, right?
And you're talking about guys debut around the same time.
Right.
In the case of those guys, within 3 months of each other.
And here's the one I think that reminds me more to the Judge and Sanchez, mainly because the size of those two human beings. Canseco, a big guy, of course McGuire, a big guy, and so is Sanchez and Judge. And they definitely are going to get the attention of every lineup card that a pitcher gets and goes, okay, he's batting here, this guy's batting here. They once were back to back, but now they've moved down in the order, Sanchez at least for the temporary time.
Ball and a strike to count to Didi Gregorius. Well, remember the way that Aaron Judge debuted last year, that hot August day when he and Tyler Austin became the first pair of rookie teammates to hit back-to-back home runs in their first ever big league plate appearances. So Gregorius goes down very awkwardly there.
Yeah, he fouled it off his, looked like his shin or inside leg. That never ever feels good. You see where he's got that shin guard, but he misses the shin guard and hits the back leg. You rarely see that. That's waiting on a pitch. Watch where this hits him in the back leg.
Ball and 2 strikes. They count to Didi Gregorius. Into the opposite field. Kim on the move. He won't get there. It bounds over the wall for a ground rule double. Bad shin and all, Gregorius is into second standing.
Well, that's going to be it for Jackson. He fouls it off his back leg, keeps him back, and just goes the other way. And it's going the way of the Yankees.
Another Baltimore pitching change. More traffic on base for the Yankees, and we'll be right back.
Of these two young dynamic hitters, and then there are the numbers of those dynamic duos. Those are pretty healthy numbers, and there's the weight, the height, and that's why it closely reminds me of two prominent Oakland A's. And look what they went on to do, and I think the sky's the limit for these two young men. I always talk about taking your baseball team and how would you fare in other sports, whether it's basketball or football.
Yeah,
Yankees are huge, man. I don't think
really
you ever
true.
get to their quarterback.
Richard Blyer is the new pitcher for the Orioles, the only left-hander in Buck Showalter's bullpen. And he's coming out under duress with runners at second and third, nobody out. 0-2 the count to Chase Headley.
I mean, without any kind of statistical information, I'm just going to believe they're the tallest team in baseball on average. They got some small guys, but they also got Betances, Cece, Judge, Holiday, Montgomery, 6'6".
0-2 the count to Chase Headley. Well, you know what else the Yankees are that we have not said about them in some time is young. Only the White Sox have a younger average age on their roster in the American League. And a swing and a miss by Headley, first out of the inning. Kenny, we have not said that in some time about a Yankee team, the fact that youth has served, and you'd usually be saying that about a team in the midst of a rebuild, as is the case with the White Sox. That's not true here.
No, it's not, and obviously they're competing. Those comparisons John just drew, the dynamic duos, were really intriguing to say the least. But with the Yankees, it doesn't necessarily stop with these two, and that is what makes them so exciting looking forward. Matt, you mentioned earlier Gleyber Torres. There's another kid named Tyler Wade who plays all over the diamond down at AAA. There's Clint Frazier, power-hitting outfielder. Dustin Fowler, another outfielder. Prospects up and down this system. There are more coming. It's not just going to be Judge and Sanchez and Montgomery alone.
And it might make Brian Cashman's quest for pitching help, if they determine that they need that, a little easier come July as Chris Carter swings and misses.
Yeah, there are some teams out there that I would think are dangling some of their pieces and seeing which rich farm system they can get the most from. Is it the Astros, the Yankees? Two of the most statistically compelling offenses and more complete teams, Houston being that one in the American League, have opportunities to really upgrade in a place where you would think, they're 13, 14 games up. What do they need? Well, every team can utilize a deep run by adding a starting pitcher. Just hard to find.
It is hard to find. Hard to find that right guy who isn't just a pure rental, who you don't have to overpay for, who a club is willing to part with. And most teams that have such commodities want a king's ransom in return. It's 3-2 now to Chris Carter.
I don't know how you feel about this, but within the system, this is perfectly fine. But what the Yankees did last year is they traded Chapman, got prospects from the Cubs. It worked for the Cubs, and then they re-signed Chapman.
It was brilliant. Here's the 3-2, and Carter flips a foul ball into the corner. Kenny, your colleague Bill Madden, longtime baseball writer, has put out a piece that I read recently this week talking about how hard it is to find that starting pitching if in fact that's what's desired here at the trade deadline for the Yanks.
It is, but there are going to be pitchers out there, and pitchers who are controllable beyond this season. And John, you're right. The Astros need that. The Yankees need that. The Rockies need that as well, potentially. Now, the guys I'm talking about, the guys I have in mind, Jose Quintana, obviously one. Sonny Gray, who was really good again today, is another. Garrett Cole, who has struggled of late, could be a third. Now, you're absolutely right. It will take a king's ransom. Teams are going to want a ton. Remember what Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman brought as relievers last year. But at the same time, the Yankees and Astros and even the Rockies, their farm systems are so deep, they don't have to necessarily yield their top guys to get the players they want.
Rob Refsnyder now pinch hitting for Brett Gardner, and he'll stay out there defensively, I'm sure. There's a chopper to shortstop. Tejada gathers it in, and fine work by Richard Blyer to strand the two runners in scoring position with nobody out. We'll be right back after a word from our local sponsor. #1 mobile app for live baseball. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience. Get club branded home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today. Rob Refsnyder stays in the ball game and takes over in left for Brett Gardner. And Luis Severino continues on the mound, facing Hyun-Soo Kim to lead things off in the visitors' 7th. Kim, Trumbo, and Davis in a 14-0 game. That's slapped toward third. Headley's there, and a former Gold Glover has him for the first out. Here's a little nugget from Keith DeSantis, one of our camera operators here and a lifelong Jets apologist. We'll draw a little NFL comp to what the Yankees have accomplished today. In scoring 14 runs, the Yankees today outscored the Jets in 7 of their 16 games last year. I get that's a little sick, Keith. From the twisted mind of a long-suffering Jets fan. Here's the 0-1 home to Mark Trumbo. It's in for a strike.
Well, on all fronts for the Yankees, everything's up. The ratings are up. People are coming to the stadium, filling the seats now because it's an exciting product. And more than that, they're coming early. They want to see Aaron Judge take BP.
Swing and a miss. And Trumbo goes down quickly. Strikeout number 8 for Severino tonight.
Well, the Yankees got a chance to do what the Cubs did last year during the All-Star game. They got a chance to be a lot of participants.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened in a while.
Well, I mean, just eyeballing it, Judge is gone as the top vote getter so far. Starlin Castro should be there in my estimation for the 4th time in his career. Matt Holliday makes a great case to go to his 8th. Aaron Hicks should go, even though he'd have to be a write-in or a managerial choice of some capacity.
Betances.
Dellin Betances, Luis Severino. We're talking about a half dozen guys right there off the top of our heads.
Gardner, if he keeps up his...
Forgot about Gardner, yeah. He's absolutely all-star worthy. A ball and a strike to count to Chris Davis. Well hit to the opposite field. Refsnyder giving a look. So is Hicks, and that one's gone. Solo shot for Chris Davis. The Orioles on the board in the 7th.
And this is what I was talking about. The same swing that's going to produce strikeouts and outs. He gets the one area you could put a small coffee can when looking at all his home runs. And this guy's so strong, and really he doesn't overswing. It's not an aggressive, out of control swing, but here's a swing when results don't go right. But the same swing. Now he was a little late. He was a little in between pitches there. But here's the swing right here. He just kind of drops the barrel of the bat, but there's the pitch in the area where you didn't want it. The location was away. He threw it in, put a point on the board.
Home run number 14 for Davis, and that ends the streak of 22 unanswered runs scored by the Yankees. Two balls and a strike to Trey Mancini. We talked about the draft coming up on Monday. And you can watch coverage on MLB Network or MLB.com. And Trey Mancini, an 8th rounder. Pop handled by Torreyes.
Oh, if we only had a short pop up to right field where Torreyes and Judge could converge.
Giving away about 5.5 feet. 7th inning stretch in the Bronx. Is sponsored by Budweiser, proudly brewed across America. This Bud's for you. And by Nasacort Allergy, 24 hours stops more of what makes you miserable. Well, as we mentioned again, the draft coming up Monday night. You can watch live coverage on MLB Network or follow it on MLB.com. Some of the recent first overall picks. Mike Trout back in 2009 from Melville, New Jersey. Angels took him right out of the Yankees' backyard. Carlos Correa in 2012, first overall. And Aaron Judge, a first rounder by the Yankees in 2013. And then back in 1985.
Look out.
John Smoltz, lifelong Tigers fan, picked 574th overall by the hometown team.
Sleeper.
Have you just as an exercise looked at the 573 guys taken before you ever?
No, I haven't. I'll be honest, that was a rough couple days of not getting a phone call. I thought it was going to go early.
Really?
Yeah, and it didn't happen, but all things worked out.
I would say.
I was going to Michigan State. I was determined, and 22nd round pick. Ended up signing at the buzzer. Last possible day.
Really?
Yeah. Going to class Monday morning, signed Sunday at 9 p.m.
So you were serious about going to school?
Yeah,
you weren't just playing games?
No, you had everything picked out. Roommate, classes, going to play 2 sports, and it all changed in one signature.
I'd imagine you didn't have a whole lot of leverage at overall pick 574.
But I actually did, because I held out, had a great summer, and I said, you know what? It's college is worth X, and I ended up getting first-round money, believe it or not.
It really did work out for you.
It did.
Probably why you have.
Can you guess what first-round money was back then?
Was it like a sandwich, like a comb in a comic book?
Compared to today,
yeah.
It was about 90,000.
Nothing to sneeze at, even for 40 years ago.
Bought a red Z24 Chevrolet Cavalier.
Very nice.
First car. Lansing, Michigan. You got to stay
domestic and all.
Yeah.
Aaron Hicks leading things off in the Yankee half of the 7th. Hicks, Judge, and Holiday. And to bring you up to speed, folks, for those that just may be joining us, the Yankees scored 6 in the first, and as you can tell, really haven't looked back. 4 home runs. Matt Holliday's got one of them, a big 3-run home run for him. Starlin Castro hit a 3-run home run. Aaron Judge has had another big night. He's a triple shy of the cycle.
I think he hits the ball too hard to get a triple.
Funny you should say that, because the exit velocities off his bat tonight have really run the gamut. His home run was at 121 plus miles an hour, hardest hit ball of the season this year. A ball and a strike to Aaron Hicks.
And see, let me just add, because I'm not a huge fan of it. I love to see the science behind it. But he's putting the ball in play. So some of the hardest hit balls, guys are striking out all the time. So their average exit velocity is way down if you put strikeouts at 0 and every ball put into play as the appropriate number. But I'm telling you, he has done something that makes you feel like the threat is so real that he has coaxed pitchers into more mistakes that you could say to him than anybody else, especially in this Yankee lineup.
Judge waits next behind Aaron Hicks, who's got a 1-2 count.
Because my argument, Matt, is this. I want to know who the most complete hitter is. Yes, we've got some eye-popping numbers, but I want to know and create a formula that says every time the ball's put in play, this is the guy you can count on based on the variety of pitchers that he faces. Don't just tell me the guy can hit it 117 miles an hour but strikes out 220 times.
Right.
I don't see a lot of value in that, but we get so enamored with it. We got high school kids working on launch angle, talking about their exit velocity. We got high school pitchers throwing at 98, 99, 97 miles an hour.
Hicks with the ball well hit. That's going to actually hang for a while, and Rickard makes an easy play of it, and there's one away. Well, in terms of average exit velocity, only Miguel Sano hits it more consistently, harder than Judge. Again, for any one single hit, Judge's home run tonight's the hardest. Let's take it back to his last at bat, the RBI double.
It's just so It's hard to follow.
Big night, and again, just a triple shy of the cycle. He's mixed in a walk in there too. You know, and this is something that's kind of interesting about Judge this year and how his height and his size has conspired against him. There was an article on Fangraphs this week that quantified how he has a higher percentage of strikes called at the knees than the major league average. Umpires are having a little bit of difficulty adjusting to that much higher, much broader strike zone.
Correct. And as a pitcher, when you stand on the mound, the view is enticing. It's like, yes. But that view goes away by his power and his ability to handle most pitches. But you look up there and you go, man, it looks easier to throw a strike to this guy.
Two balls and a strike to count to Judge.
But I like everything about him. His attitude when he hits a home run. He feels like as hard as he hits the ball, that's all the talking he needs to do. He doesn't need to showboat. He doesn't need to do anything other than act like he's done it before. And this young man, oh, he just missed it.
High fly ball into left center. Rickard will have a play on this one. Just missed it indeed.
But again, the pitch was up, a little bit up. Try to get the ball in, but see the height of it, at least a little off the end of the bat. You could tell, oh man.
Still time for you to vote for your All-Stars. Fill out an Esurance All-Star Game ballot now at MLB.com/vote. And again, don't miss the excitement of the 88th Annual Midsummer Classic presented by MasterCard, live July 11th, right here on Fox. Here's Matt Holliday now with two gone. We talked about Judge leading All-American leaguers in vote, passing Mike Trout, who I think Angel fans have responded to the fact that Trout won't be able to play, so that groundswell of support that had Trout leading all vote getters has slowed, and it's Aaron Judge on top of the pack. A ball and a strike to count to Matt Holliday, a 7-time All-Star. 1-2 now.
Well, we talked about and people have about the athleticism of Judge and different sports that he could play. I'm still blown away that Matt Holliday was one of the top quarterbacks coming out of high school.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, the body has changed since then, but still, tackle that.
I'm just amazed at how productive Matt Holliday's been. I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but the fact that the Cardinals, where he played for such a long time, have struggled to get productivity from the right-handed hitters, power in particular. They thought Randall Grichuk was going to be better this year. He's had a little bit of a regression, some injury troubles. But for the $17 million that it would have taken the Cardinals to exercise the option on Holliday, they let him walk. The Yankees were thrilled to get him at the price tag, less than that. And he's on a pace for his highest home run total in 10 years. How many players can you say this about? 10 years after Matt Holliday led the league in extra base hits, slugging percentage, and hits, he is still as productive as he was a decade earlier.
It really is a perfect fit. I'm not just saying it after the fact. The stadium fits him well, fits any professional hitter well.
Hard hit ground ball to shortstop for Tejada to retire the side. And we haven't said it often tonight, just twice. The Yankees go down in order.
New York.
After all the action on the diamond, the best team of analysts in baseball get you caught up on a full night of action around the big leagues on MLB Whip Around. Weeknights 11 Eastern on FS1 or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Wholesale changes, as they say, for the Yankees entering the top of the 8th inning. Chris Carter moves from first to right. Gary Sanchez from catcher to first. So that means Austin Romine will get catching duties. And finally, a new pitcher. The young right-hander Giovanni Gallegos takes over on the mound. Gallegos in his second stint with the big league team. Had a nice year last season between AA Trenton and AAA Scranton. 7-2 and a 1.27 ERA. And he'll roll a quick out off the bat of Wellington Castillo. 1 gone. Well, Luis Severino goes 7 tonight and had the luxury of pitching with a lead virtually the entire evening. After the Yankees got him 6 in the first, he put it on cruise control. Gave up the solo home run to Chris Davis in the 7th. The only real blemish, ended up allowing just 2 hits in the game, and is in line for his 5th winner of the year. Here's Joey Rickard now with 1 gone, making his first plate appearance tonight.
He was outstanding. Severino in a nice rhythm and a good feeling to have him in the rotation. Along with CC Sabathia, a pleasant surprise and dominance in a different way for CC. The opposite spectrum of the fastball velocity. If Tanaka can get out of the funk and get closer to where he's been really for the last 4 years, they got a pleasant staff with their offense. They just don't have to mess it up. They know they're going to score.
And I think looking forward to tomorrow's series finale, John, when we visited with Joe Girardi, the only thing he would share with us regarding his choice for starter tomorrow, because they pushed Tanaka back, is that if things go well and they get a long one from Severino, which they did, they could piece together a start tomorrow from what they have in their bullpen.
And I wonder if Green's their guy.
Rickard with a shot out to left field, and that one's going to go. Solo shot for Joey Rickard.
He sells out on a fastball. Everything he got going the right way, and he knows it as soon as he makes contact.
One in with 1 out, and now Ruben Tejada. You know, we've talked a lot tonight about the milestones that the Yankees lineup in particular are en route for by season's end. There's another milestone coming for somebody on the field, Kenny, that's not necessarily wearing a player's uniform.
No, it's one of the umpires, the man at second base, Joe West. Tonight is his 4,992nd Major League game. And barring a rainout or scheduling change, he's going to get to 5,000, become the 3rd umpire to reach that figure, as you see right there, June 20th in Colorado. Now, we've all got our favorite Joe West stories. Here's one of mine. He told it recently. He likes to welcome young players into the league by saying, I hope you play in this game a long time. As long as you're here, I won't be the ugliest guy in the league. Well, David Ortiz is one of the many players he told this to over the years. And last year, Ortiz is getting ready to retire, steps into the box at Fenway with West behind the plate, says, Joe, I need to talk to you. Joe says, get in the box. David said, no, Joe, you know I'm retiring. Joe says, get in the box. And David says, okay, next year, you'll be the ugliest guy in the league.
Cowboy Joe, the Renaissance man, the recording artist, the umpire that is Joe West. That's popped for Torreyes at second base. And out number 2.
Did I ever tell you what I did in my final days? I think I have, with Joe West as a Red Sox. And I was like, you know, pitching all these years with Joe West, and first inning, every once in a while, he would stare a strike down the middle just to see how you react. So I decided to ask the first base coach when he was at first base, what song does Joe want to hear when I come out to the mound the next day? I was pitching. He gave him some obscure song that meant a lot to Joe, thinking there's no way he'd find it. I found it. I got to the mound. He was tapping his foot. He was in a good mood. I'm like, all right. Why didn't I think about this for the last 18 years of my career? Problem is, I only lasted 3 innings, so I didn't go a whole far.
Did you ever discuss that with him?
Oh, he smiled. He was like, you know, you could tell that the song meant something to him, and I didn't even, you know, I didn't know anything about the song. I was just trying to be in the good graces of Joe West.
Yeah. Off the end of the bat, sprayed to the left side of the infield. Didi's there all by himself and handles it without a problem. A solo home run by Joey Rickard, a 14-2 Yankee late lead. For prevailing moments of the game, 4 of them, the 4 big flies. Aaron Judge with a solo shot, Castro's 3-run homer, Didi Gregorius a 2-run home run, and a 3-run blast by Matt Holliday. 4 more home runs for a team that's on a franchise record pace. Part of a 14-2 Yankees lead, last of the 8th. Back with Hall of Famer John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian, and another new pitcher for Baltimore. As right-hander Mike Wright takes over on the mound, the 5th Oriole to pitch in this one. And some additional defensive changes for Baltimore as well, as this one's starting to resemble a Grapefruit League game with all the switching and the F troopers that have gotten involved. Mark Trumbo is moving to third base from DH, so the Orioles lose their DH. Not that it's going to matter a lot here, but for Trumbo, it's his first time at the hot corner since 2013 as an Angel.
He's got a chance with the sinker ball throwing Mike Wright. Slider, changeup.
Get a little action over there at third. Okay. Yeah. Ronald Torreyes behind the ball and 2 strikes, leading things off in the home 8th. Torreyes, then Sanchez and Gregorius here for the Yankees. It's been one of those nights for the Orioles. Chris Tillman started tonight. went an inning and a third, gave up a career worst 9 earned runs. And the Orioles really haven't had a chance to get it back together since then. That is a cruel twist for Buck Showalter, whose team has only 1 day off between here and the All-Star break. 2 key relievers on the DL. This is what Buck's looking at coming up, getting into Miami in the middle of July. Wrapping up this series. Not sure how Torres got out of the way that time, or did he even get out of the way?
He did.
He got hit.
Fastball run up and in. Started an action to try and look like he was going to hit, and then the ball got there and hit him.
Oh, yeah. I thought by the way he reacted that he was able to separate his hands from the bat, but not the case, and he's aboard as a hit batsman. Gary Sanchez has singled in a pair of runs and doubled tonight.
He will do the majority of the catching for the Yankees. Of course, McCann went to Houston, freed up that spot for Sanchez. He could also DH.
2 balls and no strikes from Mike Wright.
If they want to give Holiday a breather. But to finish that point, when we were talking about Holiday and the Cardinals, the bonus is he can DH a lot. He's not going to play the field very often. He can fill in at first, maybe emergency out in left field, but that might have been part of the decision.
Sanchez with a shot to left field and out of here. Home run number 5 for New York tonight. That one left the ballpark in a blink of an eye.
All right, I'm going to guess. You guess, I guess. 115.8. Exit velocity.
It's a pretty good guess. I'm going to Price is Right you, and I'm going to say 115.9.
Oh, there we go. Drum roll.
16-2 New York.
Maybe the machine broke. We're not getting the.
Did not register, huh?
Too low.
No, we got the number. Well, you're good. You're good at this kind of stuff. 115.1.
Thank you very little.
Very nice. You know, getting back to the exit velocity conversation, because we are in such a rush to quantify every single occurrence on the baseball field these days. For me, the more interesting application of exit velocity is the smaller numbers induced by pitchers. I love hearing about how Dallas Keuchel and the likes have relatively low exit velocities, because I'm numb to the 119, 116. I mean, I get it. It's hit hard. It's going to go. But when you hear that Dallas Keuchel's inducing contact at 86 miles an hour, where the average pitcher gets hit at 94, that's interesting to me.
It is, and it goes against what you would think as we get a chance to look at his home run in a blur. It looked like it was going to be a double off the bat, and this ball just kept carrying. It wasn't very high. Launch angle's probably not going to show up much, but he just keeps his hand back and just smokes it. But you're right about the fact that pitching.
And there's a flare that's going to dump in for an extra base hit off the bat of Chase Headley. Well, now every starter has at least a base hit tonight for New York.
Yeah, now everyone's checked in. But pitching is exactly in what used to be finding a way to keep the ball off the barrel of the bat and creating late movement and the ability to hit your spots. That's what CeCe's learned how to do as he kind of reinvents himself from a dominant 96, 97 mile-an-hour fastball to a guy who relies on breaking balls and spotting the fastball, occasional four-seamer.
There's Chris Carter. He's got a pair of hits tonight. Something about head-to-head contests with the Orioles brings out the real power in the Yankee lineup. Tonight is the third occasion this year that they've struck for a 5-home run game. The Orioles, the victims in 2 of those games.
Do we know the 6-3 area code by any chance? 630? Is there such?
I'm sure we could find that in a couple of keystrokes.
Because that's the game we always play too. We look at the first 3 innings to determine the area code based on the runs. 6 in the first, 3 in the second.
I know that's fascinating stuff, but I just want to tell you tonight's telecast is sponsored by the all-new Chrysler Pacifica, imported from Detroit, and by Cricket Wireless. Something to smile about. 630 area code. We have a team of people in the production truck furiously trying to figure out where the 630 is.
Chicago.
There's Rob Refsnyder now.
So the Yankees have dialed Chicago to put it
Okay,
simply.
I got it. I like that actually.
630, 320, 02, and they're not going to get a chance to finish.
It's like the western suburbs, we're told. So the Yankees have dialed Highland Park.
630, 3200 on the phone.
2 balls and no strikes to Rob Refsnyder.
All right, we got some people listening in, watching. I got some texts on the Chicago area code.
Very good.
Just to check time.
A ball and a strike to Refsnyder. Mike Wright hit the leadoff batter, then the 2-run home run by Sanchez, double by Headley.
So when you're a pitcher and you're sitting on the bench, you come up with those kind of. That's the game you play. You also getting close to the area where you start matching the batting average with the quantity of at bats to see when that no longer, 213 at bats, 213 average. Starting to get close to that kind of game. Then you play. Well, there's a lot of different ways to pass the time, especially in a game like this.
At what point in a game like this did you guys used to break into the trainer's room and get that freeze stuff to freeze all the bugs in the bullpen? I don't think they use that spray anymore, do they?
No, they don't.
They're much more enlightened as to the evils of fluorocarbons now. Freezing bugs down there was a pastime. 1-2.
Play the time of the day and batting average. It'd have to be a day game, of course.
What do you mean?
232 is time of the day. 232 batting average. 315.
Left-hander Tommy Lane up for the Yankees. Perhaps getting an opportunity to pitch the 9th inning in this one.
Two more batters for triple for Judge, right? Still needs it.
There's a chance that Judge could have what would be a bonus 6th plate appearance tonight. Yeah, that would give him an opportunity for the triple and to complete the cycle. Actually, Judge has been pulled out of the game.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
My scorecard told me that, but I just
it happens.
figured I'd talk about it anyways.
The 2 West Coast games have already started, by the way. The Reds are out in Los Angeles to play the Dodgers. Jays are in Seattle to take on the Mariners. Things are quiet in the Judges' chambers here in the Bronx. Full count to Rob Refsnyder. And a swing and a miss finishes off the inning for Mike Wright. Another home run by the Yankees, however, their 5th of the evening, and it has been all New York here in the Bronx on this Saturday. The 2-3-4 batters for Baltimore. The Orioles just 2 runs on 3 hits, couple of solo home runs, all they could muster tonight. In stark contrast to what the Yankees have accomplished, 16 runs on 18 hits, 5 home runs tonight. In a rather lopsided looking evening with Tommy Lane trying to finish things out.
And what the Yankees have assured themselves is their 2 closest competitors, they will have gained at least a game on each. They've got a chance to finish this off tomorrow and sweeping before they head up west to the road. Play the Angels.
Red Sox currently leading the Detroit Tigers 6-3. That's an 8th inning score. 2 balls and 2 strikes now on Scope. The moon behind the facade.
Oh.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Jonathan Scope. I know that for all the trappings of offense here and all the fireworks and the home runs, Joe Girardi would love a little bit more separation in the East. Because the pack is hanging around. Blue Jays have cut into their deficit. There's ball 4 to Scope. He's aboard to start the 9th. Time to grip the moment, presented by Falcon Tires. Fine play on the right side of the infield by Chris Carter, one of the defensive gems tonight, getting it to Severino covering. Chris has since changed positions and gone out to right field. Here's Hyun-Soo Kim now with the leadoff hitter aboard.
Yeah, that was a great play. At the moment, there hadn't been a hit given up to that point, so Severino went into the 5th without rendering a hit until
to second base for Torreyes, and there's one gone in the 9th. Again, a reminder, Thursday, the world's greatest players battle to be crowned America's champion in golf's can't miss major of the year. The 117th U.S. Open begins Thursday on Fox FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Well, there's going to be a lot talked about regarding the 4-game winning streak for the Yankees come Sunday morning and the damage they've done offensively, including tonight. 41 runs in the 4 games. Again, you lose sight of how well they've pitched during that period.
Yeah, they have done a nice job, and when you score early runs, it is much easier to pitch. There's no doubt about that. But the fact that, look, they've done a lot of this damage and haven't really relied on Betances. Doesn't get much work.
Back to Lane, and the Orioles are down to their final out tonight.
Matter of fact, Joe had to bring in Betances with 2 outs in the 9th in a blowout game just to kind of get him reset so he's not rusty when they do bring him into a 1-run game. That is until Chapman can come back and resume the closer's duty.
They're thinking he's still on track for a return in about a week, as Caleb Joseph will pinch hit here with 2 gone in the top of the 9th. Producer of today's game is Pete Macheska. The director is Matt Gangle. Associate director Brian Biederman. And the broadcast associate is Brian Colucci. Thanks to our entire Fox Sports crew. We'll be with you again next weekend, a little later, 8 Eastern for the Cubs and Pirates at PNC Park. A ball and a strike to Caleb Joseph. Series finale between these two teams tomorrow. Yankees back on the Yes Network, and the Orioles back on Masson. And Joseph has a pinch hit single, one that's going to bring in a run as Scope scores from second, and it's a 16-3 ball game. So Trey Mancini will get an additional opportunity tonight after the 2-out RBI single. Trey has singled tonight in 3 at-bats. By the way, that base hit came with a runner in scoring position, so the stat we were tracking for you earlier has ended. That's the first hit allowed by Yankee pitching in 46 at-bats with a runner in scoring position. That 45 at-bat over stretch tied the 82 Expos for the 3rd longest such stretch since 1974. I know that's a lot to get your head around, but we thought it was pretty cool.
I like it. 16-3, and I still like it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, again, you're going to lose sight of how good Severino was in the morning because of all the offensive fireworks here. But Luis Severino tonight made his 7th straight start with at least 7 strikeouts and 1 or fewer walks. And more importantly, he won it, or will win it, pending the outcome of this final set of swings. 2-2 the count to Trey Mancini. Big Saturday night crowd in the Bronx. A lot of folks have already hit the road, but those who have stuck around have enjoyed themselves. All home team tonight. 45,232 in attendance tonight, as the Yankees' top home record in the American League will get a little better. In line for their 21st home victory. And Mancini grounds to short, and that'll put the finishing touches on it. A convincing 16-3 romp over Baltimore. A little over 3 hours. Matt Holliday among the 5 Yankees to go deep tonight. And your up-to-date standings with the Red Sox still in progress and leading against the Tigers find New York 3.5 up in the AL East.
Yeah, they'll start looking a lot better if you're the manager and a player coming to the park, knowing you can add to that distance with tomorrow afternoon.
For John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian, thanking you for watching from the Bronx. After a quick break, Kevin Burkhardt and Dontrell Willis in our Fox Sports studios. 16-3 Yankees, the final score tonight.